If you unironically say that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to Canada and not Canadian politicians,
you are simply not paying attention.
Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my home office yet again. And in Canada, it seems that the Freedom of Information Act is going to get a lot less free
and a lot less accessible.
Now, for those of you who don't know, while Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, and Pierre Poilievre are demonizing Donald Trump, Canadian politicians are doing a damned good job making sure they destroy Canada from within. I'm going to play a clip at the end of this video, so stick around for it, of Chrystia Freeland talking about how she met with a 4-year-old girl somewhere in Saskatoon, and the little girl said, "What can we do to prevent Donald Trump from invading?" It's a clip, you will not believe it. But by the way, before you get there, make sure that you are liked, shared, subscribed, and turn on notifications. It takes 5 seconds. Go ahead and do it right now. But yeah, it certainly seems like the freedom to information, or the accessibility to information in Canada, is going to get a lot less free and a lot less accessible. First, let's start with where this begins, with a tweet from one Brett Sears on Twitter. If you're not following him, go follow him. He's awesome. A few days ago, Brett Sears tweets, @Brett_Sears. "It's finally happening. Today I received the first batch of the 450,000 pages of Theresa Tam's emails. I submitted a request under the Access to Information Act and will be receiving all of her emails in batches of 1-month time periods for 19 months. The first one is from December 2019. I'm going to need help going through these. Originally, I planned on crowdsourcing them for info, but AI has improved so much in the 3 years since I made the request that perhaps that can help process the PDFs and summarize them. Anyone out there have experience with AI and PDFs? Any other ideas on how best to approach this monumental task? Please share this post and tag people who might be interested in helping, or send this post to them." Let's get to the bottom of the lockdowns, mandates, and the mass human mRNA injection experiment, and then you have a beautiful picture of Theresa Tam. This is from February 21st, 2025. Now, for those of you who may not know, Theresa Tam is the chief medical officer of all of Canada. She has some questionable history and some questionable ties to foreign governments, but set that aside, she is the one who was at the helm of that sinking ship of the human experimentation that we went through with COVID.
On the issue or the area of wearing masks to protect others, which is the what we're talking about, is non-medical masks, which may be made of cloth, for example, for people making it at home as an added layer of protection, is a bit like covering your cough. I think the Special Advisory Committee looked at the literature around the use of masks for this sort of source control, and it's actually mainly from influenza studies, and they are not very clear. So we want everybody to be aware that the science is not certain, but we believe in we need to do everything that we can. It seems a sensible thing to do. So I think we recommend that Canadians can take this additional measure at instances where social distancing is difficult to maintain. So our strongest message really is that you must continue to do social distancing, that 2-meter bubble, and hand washing, stay home, you're safe. All of those things are the effective measures. This may add a layer of protection to prevent you from transmitting someone to others before you actually know that you have the illness.
Brett Sears apparently made a FOIA request, or the Canadian equivalent of a FOIA request, years ago, and is now getting that information, and apparently is going to need the help of the general population to get through all of that information, just thousands upon thousands of pages of documents, and they're going by 1-month intervals, so eventually, in a few years, we'll get to 2025. Oh yeah, and gratuitous shout out to a member of our locals community, Encryptus. I think his Twitter handle is agentguru.io, who has developed some AI scraping software that will certainly help get through all of this information. But as we go through this, and we're dealing with 1-month intervals at a time, and we have not yet even gotten to the COVID era, we are pre-COVID era, I found one email that struck me as being particularly suspicious. Viva Fry, @the Viva Fry: "Why would Theresa Tam be interested in addressing vaccine hesitancy in December 2019 before COVID even hit, unless they knew that, quote, COVID, end quote, was coming and the ensuing vaccine campaign?" And here we have an email from redacted December 2019 to Theresa Tam. Subject: addressing vaccine hesitancy in Ontario. "Hi Theresa, thank you again for your time and consideration. I'm available to you and your team for any questions on this proposal and would love to talk about it more. As a parent of young kids in the Ontario school system, I believe this meets a need for improved communications and good information put directly in the hands of people making health decisions for families. There's no shortage of convincing misinformation, and it's flooding social media. We can create something that adds fact to this conversation in a way that talks to parents." Very interesting. There is a meme on the internet that says something to the effect that once you understand that COVID was created for the vaccine and not the vaccine for COVID, it all makes sense. And I've got to tell you, reading emails that seek to address vaccine hesitancy in December 2019, when a mandated vaccine, never before delivered technology for a coronavirus, which had never happened before, when that is happening in 2019 and the vaccine is mandated in 2020, I start to ask a few questions myself. But alas, if we go the way of Nova Scotia, the government is going to make it slightly more difficult for you to make these freedom of information requests, because if they deem your request to be of bad faith, vexatious, or whatever, they reserve the right to basically say, no, you don't get any information. You don't get to look into the government. The government decides what information you have access to. Viva Fry at the Viva Fry. Meanwhile, in Canada, Nova Scotia now moves to deny, quote, trivial, frivolous, or vexatious, end quote, requests for information. Also, requests that are, quote, not made in good faith could also be denied, end quote. In other words, requests that will be used as, quote, malinformation, end quote, i.e. information that is true and accurate but may be hurtful to the government, could be denied by the government. But yeah, Trump is the biggest threat to Canada. And then from that article in CBC News, Nova Scotia wants to deny, quote, vexatious, end quote, information requests. Critics say they are concerned. Province introduced changes to the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act in surprise bill. By Angela McAvor, CBC News, posted February 24, 2025. And then we've got a beautiful picture of the Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston looking a little befuddled. After once promising to give Nova Scotia's Information and Privacy Commissioner the power to enforce decisions, the Houston government has blindsided the office and its supporters by announcing major changes under a new omnibus bill. It has led some experts to question the province's commitment to access of information. The proposed amendment to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act will allow public bodies to refuse applications that are, quote, trivial, frivolous, or vexatious, end quote. Requests that are deemed repetitive, excessively broad, or not made in good faith could also be denied. But yeah, Trump is the biggest threat to Canada, not the Canadian politicians who are destroying the country from within, turning it into a communist hellhole. Look over there, everybody. Trump is the big bad boogeyman, not the Premier of Nova Scotia, not Theresa Tam, not Justin Trudeau, not Mark Carney, and certainly not Chrystia Freeland. Oh my goodness, look what I just saw over here. There's a bunch of ducks right there. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that beautiful? All right, sorry for the distraction. I saw some ducks and I got distracted. But now you know your vlog. If you like what I do, you know what to do. But most importantly, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life. And now enjoy this video of Chrystia Freeland being the biggest idiot on earth. Peace.
A few weeks ago in Saskatoon, I met a little 4-year-old girl. She asked me whether I could prevent Trump from invading our country. And that's why I am standing to lead the Liberal Party and to become the next Prime Minister of Canada. Trump represents the greatest threat to Canada since World War II. He is threatening us with an economic war, and that's nothing new. The last time that he was president, he threatened us too, and at the end of the day, I succeeded in protecting our economy. But this time, Trump's threats are worse. He wants to turn Canada into the 51st state, and it's no joke. That is why he is supporting Vladimir Putin's criminal attempt to redraw Ukraine's borders. Trump wants to redraw our borders too. We need a leader who understands the seriousness of these challenges and how to face them. A leader that can respond and defend everyone in our wonderful country. I will fight for us. I will fight for Canada. And together, we will win.